What is good, fight fans? I suppose since it's the evening, I could say buenos noches. My Spanish is very limited, but UFC Mexico on tap, and we are so happy you're joining us here on a Thursday. We've got props. We've got a cycle locked and loaded. We got 13 fights ready to preview. It's pretty much all you could ask for, except you need to know who we are if you don't know already. Hopefully you do, but if you don't, my name's Austin Swaim. I'm with FanDuel Research and UFC, all sorts of other sports. And then I'm joined here by the man, the myth, the long shot legend, the cycle slayer himself, Matty Tanner. Both of us breaking down the fights tonight. Matty, I got to bring you in and ask you how you're doing, my man.
Good, bro. Good. It's been a weird week of line movement. I don't know if you've seen a lot of this stuff back and forth with some of these fights, and then the prop markets and oh my God, bro. I think I'm cursed putting the cycle in early in the week. I always get a shit number when I should be getting a good number, but we'll see how it goes, bro. I got people that actually are getting crazy numbers on FanDuel, by the way, on the cycle that I'm very jealous about here in South Florida. But we'll save that here for later in the show. But I'm feeling good. Sean Brady by submission. You know what's crazy, bro, is like it's one thing when you're like, a guy's never been sub before, a guy's never been knocked out before. But why are we so confident, or at least I felt like I was so confident that Leon was getting subbed in that fight? Like, even against a guy who's never been submitted before. I don't know. He made it look easy. I thought he could have got it earlier than round 4. Even after round 3 ended with only 2 rounds left, I still had no doubt in my mind he was going to get it. Did you feel the same way after round 3?
Yeah, I mean, I felt like I could feel how defeated Leon was, and then he short-circuited trying to take Brady down and ended up putting himself in a horrible spot. He survived that round, but it's like there's a lot of not good going on upstairs, and I spoke last week on the show. I listen back to our show every week because I'm a nerd like that, and I try to listen how we can get better. I remember both of us talking good points about the submission. You mentioned the sub first. I was a little uneasy, but I also said Leon has spent a lot of time on bottom and hasn't been subbed. So we were right on the edge of going all in, and then by the time we got to Saturday, you had fallen in love with the play, and I'm happy for you because you ended up.
I was also just on a heater throughout, a couple fights before the main event, and I was just like, fuck it, dude, he's subbing him. Yeah. And then I was at the counter, I was cashing those tickets for, it was like $49K total. The guy at the counter was like, do you want all of this in cash or do you want to bet more? And as soon as he said that to me, I should have probably tipped that guy, because as soon as he said that to me, it triggered me. It was like, wait a second, 49 is such a weird number. I was like, give me 40 cash, give me 9 on Sean Brady by sub, and thank God it played out the way it did. But damn, he looked good in that fight. This is a Brady 2.0. We talked on the Show Me the Money pod. We're like, is this a different Sean Brady? Can he beat Bilal Muhammad now? Right? I still don't know if he can, though, because I still think stylistically, I still don't know he can get takedowns. And if he can't, then I don't know that he can beat him. So it's interesting to talk about.
Yeah, brutal matchup, but I feel like his hands have gotten a little bit better, and he just continues to evolve physically. Definitely. Where you mentioned this, I don't know if you told me this personally or put it out on social, but he was more dominant against Leon than Bilal Muhammad was, which is kind of weird to say. Bilal's not really a sub guy.
It wasn't even close, because Leon had Bilal's back in that fight. Leon ended the fight with ground and pound. Leon had 0 moments. I think I saw a stat that he didn't have any strikes after round 1, significant strikes.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Crazy?
I saw Brady set a record for control time in 1 round because he had all but 3 seconds, and I believe the second round. Yeah, we just got the comment there. 4:57 in control. You can't really land significant strikes from the bottom.
That's true.
Very, very, very difficult to do.
Even like Kevin Holland, bro, landing these massive shots from bottom.
Yeah. But it's not all that common, and I'm glad we didn't fall for kind of the Leon at plus chicken trap that it felt like maybe was laid a little bit last week.
These little hate comments. We got to talk about this, by the way, because so I hit the 3-leg parlay, 4K to win 40. It was under 2.5 in the Alexia Molly McCann fight. It was Nathaniel Wood money line, which me and you love that play. That guy is so skilled to be an underdog in that spot. It was unbelievable. And then it was another under I think I had in that. I can't remember.
Duncan Vucenic, right?
Under 2.5 Duncan, under 2.5 Molly, Nathaniel Wood money line. That paid 40K. It was plus 911 was the number on 4K. It was unbelievable how easy that was. It was sweat free. The Duncan one was actually the the hardest leg, right? Because it made it to the second round. I was like praying I didn't get screwed on that one just because he came out and almost finished it early, and then the grappling started ticking clock, and I was like, shit. But then round 2, he got it. So that was a great fight. What was I getting at here? Mick Parkin. In hindsight, listen, I know you weren't in love with my Mick Parkin KO, but the fact that there was no KOs on the entire card, and Mick Parker had great top position, reign and damage in round 2, I think it was still the best KO read of the card at the number that I got it at.
Yeah. I mean, like, you could go there, or you could go Kevin Holland with the 2 seconds left, but like, I mentioned this to you in our personal DMs this week. It feels like we're so dialed. We struggled with a KO last week, and then all of a sudden we get to this card, and there really weren't a lot of KOs or KO opportunities at all. Like, we weren't looking at Garam, we weren't looking at a lot of different spots that were popular. Something smelled off about Vucenic. You were right about Chris Duncan in that fight being a live dog and just getting a lot better.
I'm mad I didn't pull the trigger on Duncan because I knew deep down that like Duncan was just on a different level than he used to be at.
Yeah.
And he's very confident with American Top Team. He's dialed in. I just didn't think that was a spot to take him. I was like, next fight, maybe I get great number. But, man, he was a great underdog pick. He looked better everywhere, honestly.
Yeah. And you know, this is just if you're new to the show, because we had a few people join after, of course, the cycle hit a couple of weeks ago. When you look at Matty has a whole Telegram where he gives out his personal parlays. That fight parlay you were talking about, the Nathaniel Wood and the 2 unders, that was given out before the fights. Like, you could have tailed that yourself if you were following in the right spot. I release my whole card, and I do it much more units, small plays. Like, I have a much more systematic approach than putting parlays together. Like, you got to follow all of our stuff if you're really going to follow it, because the cycle, it's going to be 50-1 or whatever we put it at this week, and it may or may not hit. Like, if we're doing that 1, 2, 3 times a year, we're having a nice year. So
Sure,
yeah, I think I just wanted to mention before we dive in here, because I think, Matty, we have a couple special eyeballs on our show this week. If you don't get the inside joke of the show yet, Matty, these are not irresponsible units for Matty. He is good for it. It is not crazy, out of the world, isn't able to go up with this. You should never bet more than you personally can afford. You should never throw your house on the cycle parlay or anything that is irresponsible in that regard. And of course, I am the stick in the mud. I do things methodically. I am responsible. I'm almost too safe for my own good sometimes, and that's why Matty and I are great good cop, bad cop when it comes to betting UFC. So
no, it's very well said. I like to have fun, but I actually said today, I think I was on a DM or a tweet or something, like, in all seriousness, you guys are asking how much to bet on the cycle. Obviously, that's a personal question for you, but my ballpark number is 20% of what you would bet on a straight bet. So if you're betting $100 on a fighter money line, that's your one unit. Maybe you're putting 2/10 of the unit on a long shot, right? So maybe like a 9. Like, for example, we're going to get to this at the end of the show. My cycle's 90-1 today. So maybe that's a $20 bet for you, but you guys have to manage your bankroll, have to be responsible, have to be smart in this space. There's a lot of bad stuff out there. So be smart, be responsible, and let's have some fun. Let's get on to the breakdown.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's dive into the breakdown. We'll pull that up. And by the way, if you get a message from MattyBetss, he probably isn't giving you free picks. Ban and block all of those bots that are out there. They come after me too, bro. I know MattyBetss isn't giving me the locks because he just texts me instead. Why don't we dive in here to this lightweight fight between Markel Mederos taking on Austin Hubbard? Weird fight, and this kind of came together last minute because Daniel Zellhuber was initially scheduled to fight Mederos in kind of a banger. Hubbard going to step in on short notice, so there's no Mexico flair here in this first fight up. But line moving a little bit. Mederos was as high as minus 200 earlier in the week, now down to minus 172 as we sit here live on FanDuel. And thought Hubbard, just kind of a reliable veteran. We've seen a lot of spots. Had the tight decision with Alexander Hernandez not go his way. So I'm curious what you think about this first fight of the fight on the card, because we haven't talked about it at all. I don't really have a specific lean in it. So what do you think?
Honestly, I'm not touching this first fight of the night. I'm probably dog or pass here if I had to choose something. I think the split decision against Alexander Hernandez has aged a little bit better. You know, he goes out and wins his last fight and looked more well-rounded in that fight with the wrestling. But I don't have a single read on this. Like, I don't even want to spend any time on it, truthfully.
I mean, I don't really have a whole lot either. I will say that you would think that Mederos, the Factory X guy, he's certainly been a higher volume striker so far. That seems to be his strongest attribute in UFC. He's shown really good takedown defense, 90% so far. I think that's why Mederos points, if I looked at the outcome, is probably going to be the most likely outcome here. Hubbard is a very durable guy. He got submitted by Joe Solecki back in the day. He got submitted by Kurt Holobaugh most recently. But Mederos doesn't really seem to be a sub guy, and he's like 10-1 to do so. So it feels like it's kind of Mederos points it is plus 120, and then Hubbard points is plus 230. Feels like it's close. Feels like it goes the difference. Maybe Austin wins if he can get his wrestling going. Mederos probably wins if he can. I don't think there's anything special from a betting angle in this first one.
Yeah, what's the number? Someone put over 2.5. Depending on the number, I would maybe play that. Let me see what it is.
It is minus 340. So, like,
never mind, bro. Never mind. I don't trust Hubbard at that price. I don't trust Hubbard will always survive. Not at minus 340. I'm not touching that in case Hubbard somehow does get put away.
Yeah, short notice, elevation, a lot of weirdness.
Hey, we got to talk about elevation a little bit because everyone always assumes someone gasses and goes to sleep. Sometimes in elevation, both sides are tired and the fight goes the distance and it's sloppy. So don't always believe that there's going to be a finish because it's in elevation, because sometimes it's actually the literal opposite.
Yeah. And we just got that comment, like elevation. So some data about this: 50% decision rate, 6 out of 12 fights last time we were in Mexico City last year. Actually, a positive decision before that. I forget the exact number now, but in Utah a couple of years ago when UFC was there. Now, I don't remember the Denver card. I don't see that as extreme elevation as like a Mexico City, which is like 9,000 feet above sea level. So I honestly think at this point, because the elevation angle is so public, you're probably going to pay the price when some of these do not go the distances for it. That, like you said, both guys get tired, both guys get sweaty. It ends up going the distance. It's not necessarily the hammer slam dunk. Got to play this angle in a lot of these fights
for sure.
Austin, the elevation whisperer. Well, I am from Denver, so I guess that counts for whatever it counts for. Mile High City. But Matty, why don't we move on? Doesn't sound like we have a lot in this next fight, because I do want to talk to you about this fight here.
Yes.
Jamal Emmers taking on Gabriel Miranda at featherweight. Another fight where it feels like we kind of are mixed matching styles here. Jamal Emmers, kind of shocking how quickly he went out against Nate Landwehr in his last fight. And then Miranda's just had really tough opposition. He gets Benoit Saint Denis up in weight. Morgan Charriere, although we saw Charriere last week maybe take a step back. So that's kind of an interesting forecast for what now we expect from Miranda. Back at 145, taking on a guy in Emmers that probably is the more well-rounded, experienced guy here, but he's got a minus 350 price tag to prove it. So what do you think about this fight?
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at Jamal Emmers in the cycle on the KO, but the truth is I don't trust him, bro. I just don't. If you want to take Jamal Emmers' side, you can move that minus 350 number down to minus 280 on the double chance. You go knockout or decision. I can see a boring fight where he just wins in the strike-in and doesn't take any risks. So on FanDuel, that decision's plus 210 on Jamal Emmers. The most likely outcome is the KO at plus 130. I kind of like the double chance prop. If you guys want to risk a minus 280, maybe, 1.4 units to win a half a unit or something. Like, if that's something that interests you guys, maybe you play that. I don't think Emmers is going to get subbed by this guy. I think, when he's just too one-dimensional, Miranda, and I just don't think he's going to get caught. Now, obviously, anything's possible. Miranda by submissions plus 550. So if you want a high-level BJJ guy at over 5-1 by sub, maybe you take a chance, but I don't like it. I just don't trust Emmers to knock him out. I mean, Morgan Chairez was able to do it in round 2. That was at the start of round 2, I think.
Yeah, it was. It was pretty early in round 2.
But, I mean, what would you line Jamal Emmers versus Chairez? Because I would take Morgan in that.
Morgan would definitely be favored, and that's why this line feels a little bit rich, because like Miranda did make it to round 2. Emmers isn't as powerful a guy. I think I had a model result here, so I ran his knockdown rate, and it was, if I could get to it. Oh, I could model Miranda. That's right, but it was sub 1% with Emmers. So, I told you that like we were debating Emmers KO in the cycle. It's not a horrible number at plus 130 or whatever it came through at FanDuel. It's plus 130, but I'm scared to death that Miranda is going to find like a leg lock or pull guard or something tricky.
Emmers has 90% takedown defense, but he can get subbed without getting taken down. That's the scary part.
And the thing is that he looked somewhat lost against Pat Sabatini in that realm, and Sabatini ended up popping his knee in a knee lock and his ACL in that fight. So like I was looking. So that was quite. I mean, that was like right after the COVID break. Let's take a look. So that was 2021, August 2021.
He also
and Emmers had hurt.
He went to the 5th round with Thiago Moises too, which is, I mean, that was in 2016.
Yeah,
that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I guess Moises is a good
9 years ago. So I don't know how much stock you put into that. I have a feeling Jamal Emmers is going to win this on the scorecards. Like it's going to be maybe the worst fight of the entire card. 30-27, boos from the crowd, Miranda pulling guard. That's my prediction. Again, my original read was the KO, but plus 130, get out of here, bro. I'm good on that. I'm off of it. I'm like double chance. That's my final answer. Double chance minus 280 for Emmers, but it's a little chalky, so it's up to you guys if you want to put your coin down on that.
Yeah, Jamal Emmers does not belong in the safe parlay, so I'm not going here. By the way, how about the safe parlay? Got it again last week. Our guy Kevin.
Oh, let's go. So what's the current? What's like the last 5?
We are last 5 would be 3-2. We are 6-3 in 2025.
Last 9 is 6-3. That's impressive. Yeah. And everyone has been plus money, right?
Yeah. This past one, dude, plus 216. So
that's a hell of a safe parlay. Plus 260. Well, recap that real quick. I forget what it was now. I know
it was Kevin Holland, and then Vucenic Duncan doesn't go the distance.
Oh, that was sharp.
Yeah.
Hey, so I need to tell you guys, Austin, that parlay we were texting about, bro. I'm still disgusted about it.
Yeah.
I had the under in the Vucenic fight, under 2.5 parlay with Holland round 1 KO plus 500 on that leg.
Yeah.
So what was it? Plus, what would that be? It was like minus. It was minus 1.
Minus 180 was the Duncan Vucenic.
Yeah. So whatever minus 180 and plus 500, whatever that pays as a parlay. That was 2 seconds away from hitting. Kevin Holland gets the knockdown with 7 seconds left in the round.
Yeah.
I thought the ref was stopping that on that one right hand on the ground.
Me too.
And then 2 seconds, people were with me like, yo, just 10 more seconds, you would have hit that. I'm like, bro, where were you watching? That was 2 seconds away from hitting that. I couldn't believe that. I thought that was a great read. And then, of course, after that, it goes a distance. But you got to give credit on the durability side for both those guys.
Yeah.
Kevin Holland is different at 170. We talked about that on the show. We should probably boast a little bit more about that because every comment was fading Kevin Holland, especially on Age Ives and I show on Fridays. Every person that came on the show was fading Kevin Holland. But your motto was right on that fight. Kevin Holland by decision.
It did.
And it made so much sense. Gunnar Nelson,
it's tough.
1 knockout loss, 0 submission losses. What were we looking at in that fight?
I just, for whatever reason, I thought that if it was prolonged, Holland would be in trouble like some of the grappling exchanges. And by the way, he probably gets subbed from that same position that he was answering the phone in at 185. And that's the difference. Bigger, stronger guy probably finishes that sub. And it's like that's kind of why we like him there. One last thing on this fight before we move on. Miranda sub 1-2 plus 750. Maybe I throw a quarter unit at it. That's all I'm saying. Just in case he gets the backpack, just in case he gets the leg lock. But yeah, Emmers' takedown defense has been really solid, and Miranda, decent wrestling.
I wonder what you said it was a leg lock. Is that what you said? Maybe.
Yeah.
I wonder what that would pay at wherever, but that would be interesting.
Yeah, like some of those exact outcomes, if you could look up on shadysportsbook.com and see what's going on. Now, were you able to bet just a leg attack like on the site? Like that's all you had to bet. It wasn't knee bar.
Well, remember, I had the Walter Walker one.
Heel hook. That's right. Heel hook versus knee bars. So.
That was the most mispriced number of all time because we're especially relatively speaking when you see how bad some of these numbers are.
Yeah.
Like you even called me out the other day how bad that 16-1 was, but
he went for it. He
had chances at it though. That's why I liked it, is because I knew I would attempt it. So I knew 16-1 isn't the greatest number on that specific, but I just knew he would get in that position and attempt it. It was very close to hitting. That would have been crazy.
Here's the problem with me doing this show with Matty. I can tell him 16-1's a bad number, and then he attempts it, and then a lot of times, like with Walter Walker, he finishes it, and Matty cashes the ticket. And what I said does not matter. So that's the best part.
Positive. I don't care what anyone says.
That's a long enough number that I agree with you, especially at heavyweight. So Matty wins again, and that'll happen a lot on this show. So why don't we move on to this guy at lightweight, kind of sticking to this 155, 145 area to begin the card. Rafa Garcia taking on old man Vince from Pelle Pichel. I could have sworn this fight had already happened because these two have been hanging around in this area of lightweight forever, but I guess it hasn't. So Rafa gets to fight in the Mexico for the first time. He is minus 520. He is a giant favorite over the old guy. Do you think Pichel's got another run in him, or is Rafa a good chalk here?
I like Rafa decision. I'm actually surprised I didn't take a heavier look at this for the cycle. But we're getting the much younger guy against a durable vet. I think
he's minus 150.
I think it's still not a bad number because he's a minus 520 favorite. And I mean, how often does Rafa Garcia really get finishes? He does have 8 subs, so I'll give him that. But he only has 1 knockout win, and I don't think Vince has ever been put away by sub. No, he's 1 loss by sub. Let's see. That was an arm triangle choke against that was back in 2018. Gregor Gillespie back in 2018.
Yep.
I mean, what's the sub pay? Now that I'm looking at it, plus 600 on FanDuel is Garcia by sub.
Okay, let me look at what I've got it at. I'm at like plus 1,300. It's just Pichel. It has been a while against a lot of decent grappling matchups that he's been.
I don't look at Garcia as some insanely good sub guy, even though he has 8. Like he's more of wrestler and good boxing, like solid boxing. Like he doesn't really strike me as a guy that like just searches for subs or has slick submissions.
Yeah, going the distance with Jim Miller is a good sign for Pichel, though. I think. Jim, I feel like Jim is a better sub.
I don't mind this decision number even at minus 150. I think it's might even make my card.
Yeah, interesting. I'm not that far off. I've got Rafa decision at 54%, so 60% implied. It's not crazy. I was surprised I'm not that far off when I only have Garcia minus 155 here. I think it's just such a close fight. Neither of these guys have a tendency to separate, and it's like I totally understand Garcia being a prohibitive favorite to win the decision, but FanDuel doesn't really offer point spread bets. I've seen a few of them out there where you tally up scorecards. I love Vince Pichel plus 3.5 if you can get it wherever you can get it in this fight. Yeah. And it's because like all he's got to do is win a round. Maybe he's the more active striker, and he's a little bit due for that. He's been the higher volume striker in, 4 of his last 5 fights, but he's only gotten 2 of the nods, but he would have covered the point spread. Then again, I guess if you look at it, he would have covered the point spread in 4 of his last 5. So this is kind of what he does. He gets taken down, but he wins a round or 2 on damage. It's a close decision, and he ends up losing it. And Garcia is a guy who's really good with his takedowns, 3.38 per 15 minutes, 44% accuracy. Like, I feel like Pichel will have the edge on the feet. It's weird where he's like 42, but I honestly don't feel bad about his age and nutrition. He feels like he's in good shape. Feels like he always comes ready to go. Like that Ishmael Bonfim fight, that was a dangerous guy to stick in front of, and he got all 15. So, I mean, I've got this fight. You ready for this? I think I'm probably going to show value against the total. 87.8% likely to go the distance, and I totally agree.
Wow. Interesting. By the way, I said. I don't know if you saw this comment. I said he's a durable vet, not an adorable vet. My God.
Yeah.
Hold on. Where's that comment?
I mean, like, so obviously throw the Grant Dawson result out the window for Rafa.
Yes.
Are we at all concerned that this guy lost to Chris Grutzmacher like 3 years ago and Grutzmacher's terrible? And I don't think it's crazy Pichel would pull the upset and win this fight. It's just if we know what it looks like if he does. It's a very close fight. It's very ugly. That's why I think I'd rather take the point spread and not spread.
Hey, Pichel by KO is 15-1. Is there any part of you that's like, hey, maybe Garcia lost a little bit of his chin from that vicious ground and pound?
15-1, you said? I've got it plus 21.75.
Oh, wow.
So,
far away. Yeah.
Garcia's just really tough, man. I mean, like the ground and pound, he got stuck kind of in a crucifix position, but at distance, this guy is nails tough. And Pichel, I'm pretty sure Pichel hasn't had a drop since I was in high school at the very least. Correct. June 2017 is his last time he had a knockdown. So, I mean, this one looks like it's going the distance. If it's palatable, it could be a safe parlay angle. It actually is palatable. It's minus 270 to go the distance. That's not bad. I'm actually way ahead of that. I'm at 87. It's at 73% implied. So might be a safe parlay leg here.
I'm not opposed to it.
Yeah, and then you said you thought about Rafa decision. I really can't blame you. I personally think if you asked me to pick this fight for my life, Rafa points. So
what's crazy is I almost like the decision at -270 more than Garcia points at -150.
I mean, then you get both guys.
The judges have been, bro. Did you think there was a bunch of bad decisions last week?
I definitely thought Parkin won his fight. I would have given him 1 and 2.
I made a house call, bro. When Parkin went to scorecards, I called the judges. I was like, bro, he ruined the cycle parlay, so rob him. I'm just kidding, but
that explains a lot. I mean, the Loughran fight was very closely contested.
I thought he did enough though.
Very clear.
I was like, I missed the last 2 minutes of the fight. I went to the restroom. And someone said that a lot happened in that last minute, apparently. But I thought he did more than enough. I was surprised about that one.
I think people don't understand the difference between empty control time and effective grappling because Loughran was wearing on him. He was really beating him up early in that round with his takedowns. He'd slam him back down, lean on him. Like it was a little bit more like Cejudo Sterling than empty Almeida Derek Lewis top time. Like that was a very different level of control time. And I think people now have the misunderstanding that grappling is not scoring. So it only matters how the striking damage goes, whether it's on the ground or standing. And so if you're only scoring that way, then maybe you think Fletcher won. But what Loughran was doing.
What did you think of that fight? I forgot about that one, the Ulberg-Blachowicz.
It could. I mean, neither guy stamped that one to a point where I think you can argue it was a robbery. I was so disappointed by that fight, bro. I thought Jan, desperate 42 last run, would take more chances, and then Ulberg had all the athletic advantages, and he kind of skirted around the outside doing nothing.
I like it.
But
sorry to interrupt you, Austin, but everyone keeps asking. I'm gonna be streaming on Kick again soon, so bear with me, boys.
How about that? MattyBetss on Kick. But I was just going to say, Ulberg's going to fit right in this light heavyweight staring contest division with Ankalaev and Pereira, where there's not much going on and it's a very close fight. He's going to fit right in.
Yeah.
Alrighty, man. Let's move on to this next fight here because I think it's an important one.
Very important one.
Lupi Godinez, who's historically, frankly, been our girl. We bet her a lot in a lot of different spots, sometimes coming through, sometimes not, especially not on the KO front. And I apologize for all of those in arrears, but maybe she has a chance to get one this week against Julia Polastri. Who knows? Polastri coming off a win in her last fight, and all of a sudden she's kind of putting together an interesting UFC resume. She beats Corey McKenna. The Knudsen decision was very close. And then Jasmine Jasdavicius was no cupcake on her Contender Series fight when she first got on it. So really tough fight for her here, Matty. But do you have a specific lean when Lupi's like a -260 something favorite here?
I hate the line movement, but I also like it based on what we've seen, the past however many months. Leg one of the cycle parlay. We're going with women's MMA. We're going Julia by decision.
Nice.
I got +250. I really wish I got a better number than that now because I'm getting pissed when I see the line keep moving.
Oh, boy.
Hopefully anyone out there, you guys can get probably about 3-1 on that decision leg. So if you like it, take it at that number or whatever it is right now. I see this as a 29-28 either way in a very close decision. Give me the much better number. Give me the chick who I think is a little bit better momentum versus Godinez, who's dropped 2 in a row. I know the argument is she's dropped against good chicks, but I just give me the younger fighter, looks in good shape, has good striking. What does she have, an 80% takedown defense?
It's 61, but that's a good conversation that I'll talk about.
Well, no, I would love to hear your input on this.
All I'm saying is that the person who beat that up was Jasdavicius. She landed 407. She's only given up one takedown. Yeah, and so Godinez hasn't always been the most efficient in getting things to the ground. She tries about 6 per 15 minutes, lands 47%. It's been very hit and miss depending on the opponent.
Yeah, I'm on this. Both girls never been finished. No knockouts, no submissions. They've never been put away.
Yep.
So you have to ask yourself, this fight, knock on wood, is going the distance, right? And it's like, would you rather have a +300 on the dog here or would you rather have whatever Godinez is? What is her decision number right now?
It's minus 155.
Yeah,
dude.
I'm good on
my
that.
goodness.
She leaves a lot to be desired in her fights. I've fell for the trap on her. I used to think she's better than she is, and I just don't think she's top level. And I think that this Julia chick's kind of hungry, looks good, looks to be in shape, and I think she's going to put on a show here. I just got to hope there's no robbery. So I'm going 29-28. Julia wins by decision.
Yeah, this is a good historical formula for us. We took Eduardo Maura as an underdog by decision in a fight that was very willingly likely to go the distance, right? Model approved, Matty. I've got this plus 223, so good value even at the number you got it. I totally agree with you where, majority of the time Godinez wins, but what do we know about her at this point? You and I better enough. Fight IQ issues. Has a hard time really deciding where the fight dictates best for her. We've seen the boxing. Yeah, like Julia's boxing is great. And by the way, we saw that we had a comment about how she lost to an unranked fighter. Josephine Knudsen's a better striker than Lupi Godinez is. Godinez has a little bit of entry-level boxing. She has very half-hearted and not super impactful kicks. It is not an overwhelmingly dominant package, and the power numbers for neither of these ladies are there, both of them with a knockdown rate at 0.15% or below. So really no power. I don't think Polastri is in danger of getting submitted here. Interesting. 100% finish rate in women's MMA the last 2 weeks.
Two fights that started the card were finishes. What was that, 2 weeks ago?
Oh, yeah, that's right. And then Tainara last week as well. But, I mean, these ladies are very different as far as they are historically decision fighters. We've seen it all the way throughout their careers. I mean, I guess Polastri subbed a girl that wasn't UFC caliber, but Godinez has been the distance now in 7, 8, 9, 10 of her 12 fights, and the other 2 were subs on girls that couldn't grapple. So I feel so good about this, Matty. When you told me you locked in the cycle, I panicked. And then you sent me this leg for the decision. I'm like, I can exhale because I knew that this is at worst, bro. If it doesn't cash, if we get judged, if we get Mexico'd, whatever happens, it is good value. And I think we can rest easy with that.
Yeah. And boys, you guys have to make up your mind. Some of you are like, never bet women's MMA, but then I cash a plus 425 submission on women's MMA, and you guys are all pumped up and excited. Or we cash the under 2.5 at plus 170, and you're excited. Like, stop demonizing women's MMA. Just admit that sometimes we win on it, sometimes we lose on it. Like
just like the men.
Just like men, bro. It's no different. Like it's different, but it's no different.
I honestly prefer women's MMA for like modeling because you're less subjected to the flash knockout. It still happens. Remember that girl in the Contender Series that got murked? It happens, But I feel like in general I have a better time predictively modeling it. That's why we loved Mauro back in the day, and I like Polastri here. I only have Godinez. Let's see. Yeah, I Polastri plus 175 here, so her money line as well is showing good value too.
Fair.
All right, so leg one in the barn. That means we're looking for a KO and a sub throughout. Some of you guys, did you release a cycle video again? And I just didn't see it.
It's on YouTube. It's on
YouTube.
Okay,
so a lot of them already know what it is. So here
a lot of people do. So my new strategy is post to YouTube because I'm trying to grow my YouTube.
I like it. I like it.
Much everywhere else, and my YouTube is slacking. So if you guys please, if we got 1,500 people on the live right now, probably 10% of that is YouTube. If you guys are on YouTube, like and subscribe right now. If you're not on YouTube, come on over to YouTube. You get notified when a video goes up or when we're live. Go like and subscribe on the MattyBetss YouTube channel.
Yeah, and I'll go filter through the comments. Like if you leave a question, ask it, I'll go read through the comments and answer. So that's another bonus for YouTube as well. So why don't we talk about this one? She's a lot of lightweight and featherweight on this card here. Melky Costa taking on Christian Rodriguez, and we've already got people going Costa, Rodriguez. It is a split fight. It is one of the closer money lines on the card between guys with a ton of UFC success. Rodriguez just keeps sending back these prospects, dude, with these shiny, bright records. Costa at 22-7, not really one of those, but he's stepping in on short notice here. We just saw him, Seattle last month? So it's a pretty quick turnaround for the Milkman. What do you think about this fight, bud?
I have a lot of thoughts on this fight. So first and foremost, let's look at Christian Rodriguez, right? He beats Austin Bashi as, called a 2-1 dog. I think he opened less than that. He closed as a 2-1 dog or higher. Mm-hmm. He beats Isaac Dolgarian. We all know that probably wasn't a win, so let's just forget that fight. But going back to prospects, Cameron Simon, Raul Rosas Jr. Where's that fight at? I don't see
what.
one, but
what do all those have in common?
They're all good grapplers and young prospects. Is that what you're going for?
No, they all of those guys, including Austin Bocci, have more career starts at 135 pounds.
Oh, okay, fair.
And this is up at 145.
Yes, and when he goes up to 145, he gets guillotined by a Rosa. And here's the point I'm trying to make here. We all like taking C-Rod as like a dog to like beat these up-and-comers.
Yeah.
Now he's at featherweight against a 28-year-old. And is this really the spot we like him in at minus 160? Like, it's cool when he's plus 160 and he's fighting a prospect, but I feel like Melky Costa's getting a little disrespected here. I don't want to bet against C-Rod, though. I always lose betting against him. But does this not feel like a different spot to you in a way?
It does, and it all comes down to the size for me. Like those guys, Rodriguez was a significant weight bully at 135. I mean, he missed it a few times. When he's been up here, loses to Bulgarian. I mean, I guess the decision went the other way, but it was a weird fight. There were 10-8s on both sides. You know, Bulgarian gassed out, whatever you want to say. Should have been a loss. And then the Arosa thing you mentioned. Matty, you won big last month on Costa sub. Would you think about running it back here, given how quickly he tapped?
I wanted to ask you because – it's funny because Moicano even tweeted, he was like, Andre Fili like put himself back into the
guillotine. He did.
C-Rod is a very good defensive grappler, but again, it's at a weight class lower. This is at a weight class higher. Do you think Costa can guillotine this guy?
Well, my model does. I've got him plus 415 to win by submission. It's plus 650 on FanDuel, so I'm showing value there.
I hit last time on it. Was it?
It was way bigger than that. I think it was like 7-8 to 1, wasn't it?
It was 7 or 9 or something.
Yeah, because Andre Fili had not been subbed in a long time before that cost, which is kind of funny with how bad his defense was in that moment, but he just made a mistake. I mean, things are moving quick in the octagon. It happens.
And there's going to be a lot of exchange, like grappling exchanges here, I think. Or maybe the grappling cancels each other out and it's a straight striking match, which is fine.
I love that for Costa if you like his money line. If that's the case, I feel like Melky's the better striker here.
You do? And you think he's more powerful too? He has the height advantage, but the reach is about the same. But this is not a prospect. This guy's 22-7. He's 28 years old. I think this is a straight pick'em fight. So I got a lead dog here. I'm very close to putting the sub on my card. I would even go specific on the guillotine here. I don't think he can rear naked choke C-Rod. He's shown with Rosas Jr. on his back. He's shown like he's good defensively, but he got put away. Now Juicy J got a crazy guillotine.
Yes.
You've seen what happens if he shoots, or I actually forget how that guillotine happened with Rosa. Was it on a shot?
But I thought he hurt him before that. Rosa's a wild man. Maybe I should go back and watch that fight, but I had no problem betting Costa. The thing is that Rodriguez is small at 145. It's a totally different dynamic, especially for his style. You asked me about power here. Neither of these guys have ever dropped anybody, but I probably would anecdotally give the edge to Melky. But like, I actually think this fight has some length to it. I've got it 65.6% likely to go the distance. So I wonder where that is relative to odds makers. Yeah, odds makers minus 172. So we're right about in lockstep. The one finishing outcome I'd show value on would be Costa sub, and I don't think it's crazy.
And you know what else? As I'm looking through his Tapology, like bro's fighting Thiago Moises. Was that a 55? It had to have been.
Yes, it was. It was on short notice at 155.
Thiago Moises at 55, and then here he's fighting a 5'7" bantamweight. For being honest, at 45, that sub is, and his submissions kind of carry late sometimes too. He is around 2 subs. He is around 3 sub.
I'd play 2-3 here if I was going to do a method as well.
Yeah, if he gillies him dry early, though, I'm not getting cute, bro. If I play Costa here, I'm gonna play the sub. I'll probably play the money line. I'll probably play a decent bet on the money line here. Hopefully the number goes back the other way a little bit. I know it's come down some. I think it was 130, 140 range.
Well, I got it at plus 140.
Yeah, you're always sniping these, bro. This is why you guys got to join the Discord and get Austin's plays. He consistently gets closing line value. Now, whether it matters or not, we'll see. But you guys have to tail the closing line value. That's all you can do is get a great number and pray it works out. I'm gonna probably be 1 unit Costa money line and probably quarter to half unit on the sub here, and hope it works out. Maybe exact guillotine here, depending on the number.
Yeah, you know what this is perfect for with things you like to do. You love those 2-leg subs, bro. I feel like Costa sub at plus 650, plus 700, whatever you end up getting, it fits right in. We'll talk about it. How about that for a teaser? All right, let's move on. I'm glad we had some consensus there. I wasn't sure because both of those guys are accomplished. Here, I might have to stand my ground. Ateba Gautier taking on Jose Medina, Matty. This is a couple of guys that have seen their best moments, I guess, come on the Contender Series. We just saw Jose Medina in a 3-rounder with our guy, Zach Reese. We put Zach Reese sub in the cycle. He had it. He didn't really pursue it very, very much, and we ended up paying the price for it. But Medina not getting a lot of love here. The Bolivian plus 320 on the money line, and Gautier expected to make some waves in his debut. He's only 22, man, and I got to admit he was impressive on the Contender Series, but this is a little unnerving for chalk. But would you think about laying it?
So I'm going to surprise you right here.
Okay.
The $1 million parlay I put out. Leg number 1, Jose Medina by submission.
Okay, interesting.
1750. Now, again, you guys, I'm trying to hit $1 million parlay. It's a lot. It's a little to win a lot. It has to start with a bang, right? Sure. This is literally a prayer that Gautier unloads the gas tank in round 1, and this dude's chin is uncrackable. And then in altitude, he gets the fight to the ground in round 2, 3, and subs him. Maybe even late round 1, who knows? But this is literally a durability play and a fatigue play on the favorite. So you guys can feel free to not take this or tail it. But if this 17-1 leg hits, then I'm 2 legs away from $1 million. So you got to go. Unless I'm going to bet 8 legs in a parlay, how else am I going to win $1 million? Or at least I'm good. Or unless I put a big bet size down, which I don't want to do.
Yeah.
So I got crazy here. I'm going Medina by submission plus 1750. Chances are he gets knocked out in the first round. But if he survives and this muscular mini Francis Ngannou in altitude here gets tired, I'm here sitting here with a chip and a chance. So that's all I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, Matty, I don't hate the angle when what I've got written down here is Gautier incredibly raw. I don't know anything.
No grappling. Have you ever seen him grapple?
No, I haven't. And
I couldn't find anything on it. And
that's why I played his opponent on the Contender Series.
I mean, maybe he knocks the shit out of Medina, goes to his back, and maybe he grabs an arm bar off his back. I don't know. I'm just saying that this guy's chin is as durable as it gets. This is like a middle. We'll see. I mean, everyone's never been knocked out until they do. Maybe this is the spot. But if this guy gasses after trying to go for that finish, it could be a on the ground TKO or submission. And the submission this guy's got a couple submissions. I think he has rear naked choke. I think it's going to be a rear naked choke if this guy fatigues. So, again, it's a massive long shot. Don't bet anything significant on it. It's just a sprinkle, but it's leg 1 of the $1 million parlay. So we'll see.
I would have preferred KO at 10-1, but you got to do what you got to do. Like it's like I just don't know if Medina's got that in his game either. But the exhaustion angle I don't hate here at all. This is a weird fight where go ahead.
No, I was gonna say he had a grappling match in 2023. He won by arm triangle. He also had a ground and pound from crucifix position, and then he has a rear naked choke win back in 2018. So, again, I don't think he can get this without, this guy unloading his gas tank. But and then his amateur bouts, armbar, Americana, he has grappling. He has submissions in his back pocket. So 17-1 and a durable chin. I'm throwing a dart on this one. We'll see.
It's not bad. Like it certainly could have been a lot worse. I think plus 1700 like a small dart is a good way to play this fight because there's no doubt that Gautier is going to be the better guy when this fight starts. Like the first minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. But the problem is that he's supposed to be this knockout hammer against one of the toughest guys that has ever been in UFC. Like the beating that Medina takes is unbelievable from a guy as powerful and big as Zach Reese. The Gagiasula fight. Now, I will say both of those losses,
And
as
Reese,
lopsided as they were, have aged even worse. So that's not the greatest.
And Reese has good grappling, so Medina couldn't take advantage of that as the fight progressed.
He does.
Reese is also massive and tall. Like, I guess Gautier is too at 6'4". But this is kind of like a Zach Reese without grappling in a way, maybe a little more power in his hands. Is that inaccurate to say?
No, I think you're trading grappling skills for power in his hands.
Yeah, Reese has power, dude. Reese has put guys out cold.
Yeah. Gautier is a much better boxer, though. Like, his striking was very impressive.
I would still take Reese in a pick'em. I really would.
Against Gautier?
I would.
Oh, I wouldn't.
I think Reese is underrated and undervalued based off of, well, I guess his last fight really.
He's chinny, bro. He's too chinny to face Gautier. I think Gautier.
That's fair.
But like, that's a totally different.
He gets knocked down and is off his back. He can grab something. We've seen that before. But then Cody Brunage dumped him on his head.
Yeah.
So.
Until I see some Gautier grappling, I would never even consider minus 460 as like a money line type of play.
Fair.
And this line's
look really stupid on this fight, but I'm taking the swing for the fences here.
I'm pretty sure that I got this at like minus 400 or so because I thought it was going to be minus 1,000 by fight night, and then there is a ceiling here where it's like, how high can we put Gautier as a favorite? I don't hate your play at all, Matty. I think that it is the responsible way to play this fight because anything else is total fair game. It's a little bit like that. Remember, who was it a few weeks ago? Abdul Malik facing the hillbilly guy. Who was it? I can say he's my brain. Who's the guy with the mullet? I go Nick Klein. And then Klein hurt him in the first round. Remember, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, it's an upset of a lifetime." Yeah. Who knows what this fight's gonna produce? And
by the way, Austin, if you just take the round 2-3. You get 22 to 1 on round 2, 28 to 1 on round 3. So I might put a 1/10 of a unit or 2/10 of a unit on those two rounds as well.
I mean, it's a legendary.
You've seen way crazier shit when people fatigue, bro. If he chases this finish and the guy just does not get put away, I'm telling you right now, it's live.
I'm looking. I think it's interesting. At least Gautier didn't seem to have cardio issues on the Contender Series. Decision at plus 290 is kind of interesting. Given Medina's got a blockhead, but
maybe he wins the first 2 rounds and drops the third. That could happen.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, oh god, I don't want that for you. Where he drops the third, maybe he's even got a submission sunk in, and then he survives. That'd be terrible. Yeah. I would hate that for you. But I think that's a good, interesting angle. Is like Gautier early, Medina late. So I think our viewers, as usual, on it. So we'll move forward because I don't have much to say about that. If I don't think there's anything to make me look like an expert there, we'll move on to this one. Interesting flyweight battle. Edgar Chairez taking on CJ Vergara. It feels like both of these guys kind of need a win, getting in that danger zone on the roster in a division that's getting a little deeper. Chairez, the Mexican, obviously here, minus 295, home country, all that jazz. Do you think CJ's got any chance to pull the upset here when we talk about how this fight looks stylistically?
Yeah, not really.
Uh-oh.
No,
I bet him already. Uh-oh.
Okay, yeah. What did you get? What numbers did you get?
I got plus 220, so it's the same as this. I actually missed the best of the number here, as you were gassing me up earlier.
I mean, bro, I was big on Edgar, like I reluctantly took him by sub against Josh Fan, which was dumb at No Shea UFC.
Yeah.
I really like this guy, but he does get hit very easily, right? So that's one thing. I was actually looking at this as a sub play at one point, but I couldn't get there on it for the cycle. But Chairez is 7. I mean, he got 7 wins by submission, bro.
Yeah. Huge BJJ edge here.
Triangle, guillotine, armbar. My buddy actually texted me in Mexico. He is a reporter, and he's like, dude, I was blown away that you didn't have Chairez by sub. He was like, I thought it was a home run for your cycle. And I was like, it doesn't mean it won't still make my card. I feel like subs are making a comeback, bro. Like, I feel like every card now, there's like 3 to 5 sub opportunities and only 1 to 2 KO opportunities nowadays. It's really weird.
Yeah, I mean, we saw back-to-back Kimaras the other week. Sean Brady tried.
You seen a card with no knockouts?
Yeah, an armbar from guard by Sean Abannon last week. That's on a lot of weird sub stuff, but Maybe to my regret, I like Vergara here. And I think the problem is I know Chairez has a huge BJJ edge. My question is, how does he get it? Because Vergara's not going to wrestle. Chairez hasn't landed a takedown in UFC yet. Like, I just feel like he's been very inefficient trying. And Vergara is a guy that went 15 hard with a Su Almabayev. He's been in some really miserable fights. He fought Tatsuro Taira back in the day. Now, when you look at the difference in BJJ, Taira subbed him in the second round. Chairez went.
That was 4.5 minutes into the second round.
Yeah. So like,
Taira's way better submissions, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he had Chairez in a bit of danger in the end of the second round when those two fought Tatsuro. I mean, he's on a different plane, but on distance, I think this fight happens a lot of distance. I feel like Chairez is a boxer with ability to close the fight with his BJJ, and Vergara is just better at distance. 5.10 significant strikes landed per minute, 56% accuracy. He's shown to be a little chinny. Like, he was dropped 3 times by Tamirov in the last fight. Daniel Lacerda actually dropped him as well. But like, overall, Vergara has been the much more reliable commodity at distance. I have this fight much closer. I've got Chairez at just minus 125. So I had to fire on Vergara here, even though I've got the Chairez favored on probably the submission and grappling upside. But I definitely can see Vergara inching this out on the cards. I love plus 440 by decision here. That is a lock to make my full card.
All right. Yeah, I'm not sold on either side here, so you could almost sell me on a dog play here, but
yeah,
no, I have no idea.
Like, I wouldn't be confident enough to tell you to put this in the cycle for Vergara decision, because it's just what the tenor of this fight looks like will decide very much who wins it.
Yeah, that's fair.
And Austin, I put a dislike in Discord on Vergara. Hey, that's okay. As long as you're in there, you look at my picks and you interact with them, it's okay. By the way, my picks and Matty's picks come this weekend, all free on our Discord, which we've linked a couple of times here in the YouTube chat. So for free, come get them at the trough, guys. We know you love to laugh at us or agree with us. But Matty, before we move on to the main card, I wanted to remind everybody that your premium guys, Homo Fight Picks, I do not sell picks. These guys do, so I thought I'd do a read for you guys. Homo Fight Picks has been crushing it so far in 2025. Geez, Hey Jive is just automatic. Another winning week last week. He's plus 25.9 units this year. Nolan's been crushing it as well, plus 7.8, and he is going to get hot in the summer. We just know it as well. So code Mexico, if you want to try these guys, if you want to see their picks for free, you haven't done so already, code Mexico gives you 7 days free. It'll get you through all of this week. These guys putting out plays every week, and usually, like me, they try to get them in there early. You get the best number, all of that good stuff. So code Mexico, 7 days free. Again, I am very clear here. I do not sell picks, but I am happy to show off my broadcasting expertise and read my ad for a couple of good friends. I love these guys. They give great film analysis. They know what they're doing, and they are the men collectively. So code Mexico, 7 days free. Okay? All righty. Let's move on here. Up onto the main card. And to a fight that I think is definitely interesting for you and I. And we've talked about this fight a little bit at length in DMs, but I still think we could talk about a lot of different angles of it together.
Yeah.
Lazy boy Ronaldo Rodriguez, a guy we were very high on in his last fight, ends up getting a very close decision win over Ode Osborne, but now he's back in Mexico City where it all started. Taking on Kevin Borjas, a guy that had to fight Josh Van, a guy that had to fight Alessandro Costa. I wish any flyweight in the world luck fighting those two guys. Lazy Boy definitely a step down, but still an underdog here. Rodriguez minus 164. So what do you think about this fight, Matty? Do you have a play here? I think you probably do.
I do. And you guys aren't going to like this one. Lazy Boy, never been knocked out. I'm taking him to get knocked out in this fight. Plus 550 for my guy Kevin by KO. I'm sorry, boys. Go watch the tape. Go watch Kevin's round 1 against Josh Van. Clean 1-2 down the middle. Knocks Van to the ground. Who else is really outboxing that guy in this division? Not a lot of people. Charles Johnson was the only one that finished him in round 3. I don't think that would happen again if they fought. I really don't. Kevin, I think, is going to be the better striker here. Hopefully he doesn't get out-grappled just by Ronaldo being just so resilient maybe, and tough and durable. But I feel like, again, we took Sean Brady by sub against Leon. We knew going into it Leon had never been subbed, never been put away. there are times where we're like, hey, it's never happened, but we love the number and we love the tape footage. And this is a time here where Kevin, when he wins, it's by knockout. 8 of his 9 wins in MMA are by knockout. We're getting plus 550 on this number against a guy that consistently gets hurt. Got hurt against Ode Osborne. I'm taking Kevin by KO here, leg 2 of the cycle. I believe this is the second biggest leg ever in the cycle. Guess what the first one was? It was 9-1 submission.
Bruno Ferreira,
9-1 submission, and it smacked.
Yep.
So I'm not going to get discouraged by like people are like, oh, don't put a huge, like they want me to go conservative on these cycles. This is a 90-1 cycle this week. I'm at a point now where I'm like, I'm not trying to target an arbitrary number. I'm just trying to find value on 3 legs that I like. And some weeks it's 20-1, some weeks it's 90-1. This week is 90-1. I'm going to trust the tape study here. Kevin by KO here as a dog. I like it a lot.
Matty, and this is why it's like, this is not a one-way street. Matty put this play in my ear, and I love it. Now, Borjas is just shy of model eligibility, but I love this play, not only because you say Rodriguez has never been KO'd. That is dumb luck because the guy feels like he's dropped and hurt in just about every fight that he's in.
Bro, what do you make of his resume?
Like, it is atrocious.
What names do you like on this resume?
None. I don't have a very high opinion of Ode Osborne, especially when your base is grappling, because Osborne is practically a white belt. He's submitted by Kelleher back in the day. There isn't a good win to me on Lazy Boy's resume. Whereas the problem with backing Lazy Boy at chalk here is Victor Diaz, who Borjas fought on the Contender Series, is a better grappler and wrestler than Rodriguez is. Like, Diaz is a guy that could probably hang in this division in UFC. And why I love this play, Matty, is because you're essentially getting Borjas inside the distance. He's not a guy that has any submission skills. He really hasn't shown any of that. And why would you want to take this fight to the ground against Lazy Boy anyway? So, you're almost getting inside the distance here at plus 500 something on a guy who's plus 130 as an underdog at elevation, has shown moments of power. Opponent is chinny. I am all the way the fuck in. I so love this read by you, and it's a great number. You got a great number. FanDuel's got it plus 500. I think that's a great number too. So
yeah, I like 5-1 on that. 5-1's right where it needs to be.
Yeah.
I just like it, bro. We'll see what happens. We were actually looking at this as the decision leg originally, early in the week, because we always talk about, skilled guys or skilled strikers against durable guys. But I don't trust that Renato's that durable. I think it's more about the opposition he's faced. When you got a guy like Martin Vettori who's fought everyone, then you can confidently say this guy has a crazy chin. It's so durable. Vettori had never even been really knocked down. Rodriguez, go look at the tape. He gets hurt all the time. So I'm going to trust the number here. If Julia gets it done, then this one gets it done. Then we have one more leg to go, and we'll be from 90-1. So we'll see.
I don't think how hurt Lazy Boy was. He falls into an Ode Osborne sub attempt, the first sub attempt of Ode's career. That was a massive shock to me, that the money line, and I was all over Lazy Boy in that fight because I thought he'd have a huge grappling edge, and it didn't come home to roost. So I really don't know what it looks like if Lazy Boy wins. I guess maybe he's securing takedowns, maybe he finds a submission, but from what I saw in the Contender Series with Borjas, I just trust him better than that. I feel like he's got, and this is for his job. He's 0-2 in UFC. If he goes to 0-3, loses convincingly, huge motivation.
Big fight for him. I will say I am scared that someone commented that Kevin drops him and goes to the ground with him. We see guys do that all the time. That is a fear back in my head, right? I don't want this guy coming close to Rodriguez with the grappling. So we need a clean knockout on the feet and maybe a ground and pound, but a calculated ground and pound.
Yeah.
Not like the Indian chick.
That was a mistake.
Oh my God, dude, that was disgusting. I had her money line, and I could not believe she starts her on the feet and then gets armbarred. I was blown away.
I honestly feel like the reputation of Borjas gassing out is not fair. Josh Van is just super. Josh Van in round 3 might be the best flyweight on the planet, dude. Where he is just so much better.
So good, bro.
And it's just such a tough comparison point. Whereas
that was a hell of a read for you guys that took Van and sub.
I wish
she would get it. It took her to get hurt to get it, right? Which you got to be lucky and good sometimes. But that was a good read by everyone that had that.
I think even if she didn't get hurt, if at any point she shot for a takedown, I knew Tomar was such a bad grappler, and I just overlooked it, and I didn't see.
That was a good two-way action type of fight in hindsight.
It was a great read, and congrats to everybody that catch it. But Matty, I'm with you. We're not always aligned on this. This time you brought me over to the fence. I think it's a great play. So now we just got to find a sub somewhere coming in. I wonder where it's going to be. We got a few sub threats coming in. Even one here. I don't think it's this one, though. Simon Oliveira is kind of a sub threat. He's tried a few in UFC. Taking on David Martinez, brother of Melissa Martinez, who we've seen in UFC as well. Coming off the Contender Series, makes his debut in his home country here. Kind of feels like a setup spot, maybe a little bit. He's minus 400 in this fight, but you never really know with these Contender Series guys if they're legit or not. What do you think about this fight, Matty? Because I have a pretty strong lean, but it's not the most confident in the world.
Give me your read, bro.
I love Martinez by KO here. Oliveira is a guy that just doesn't really have a lot of skill, I guess, at distance. I mean, Marcos was able to knock him out with a knee, but behind that, he's Tony Gravely behind at distance. And really all we've ever seen him do in UFC is kind of pull guard, search for arm bars. We got a good comment there. Simon is a can and doesn't belong in UFC. He's being fed. That's kind of the way I feel as well. When Martinez, in his Contender Series fight, I thought he took on a great opponent in Franklin, was able to stuff the takedowns in that fight, 100% takedown defense so far. Awesome striking peripherals, plus 2.20 striking success rate, elite defensive numbers, very unique, crafty kickboxing. He's a lot of fun to watch, and I think they are interesting that Martinez round 3 KO here. I like round 2-3 KO as well. Like I was leaning later in this fight because he is a guy that builds momentum in this fight, and I think it's undervalued because he went the distance with a much tougher opponent on the Contender Series. It's plus 145. Points is plus 145, so they're the same number. Give me the KO, and then round 2 KO is plus 700. Round 3 is plus 950, and he's not a guy with a lot of submission danger, so those feel like round 2-3 props to me.
Yeah, this one I was kind of torn between the decision and KO here. I was looking at this on the cycle for the KO, but I couldn't get there on it, especially with the number the way it is.
Yeah,
but he probably does get him late. If that decision was a little bit better of a number, I would probably take a swing at it, though.
I think he gets him with a kick. I do. I think he gets him with a head kick in this fight. He's got such a fast kick to that level. And Oliveira is a guy that showed really poor head defense, 46% striking D. He's a little bit shorter in this fight as well. I have a conflicting source. Like one source says 5'5", one says 5'6". It is a height advantage for Martinez. Just really long with his legs. He fights longer than he is. So I guess that's my Austin's uneducated film prediction of the week. Is I like Martinez by KO in the spot. Whether he's a successful UFC fighter or not after this, I don't know. But Oliveira is just really bad. So that's my analysis.
Respect.
Move on. Hopefully that is just a UFC Mexico smash spot. We'll see if this one is as well. Our guy, Chihuihuis, Raul Rosas Jr. taking on Vince Morales here. Vince Morales has speed ran through 3 more killers in the second stint with UFC because now he's got to fight Rosas on short notice. So good luck with that in Mexico, nonetheless. So good luck with that. Rosas is minus 480 here, but Vince Vendetta showing improvements, getting closer to that win column. Do you think he's worth a dog shot in this spot?
Raul Rosas Jr. bounce back submission. He was hurt in his last fight.
Okay.
Down on him. He's now 20 years old. He's had, 2-3 years here where he's gotten himself some experience. It's not like Vince Morales, the guy's never been submitted, right? I think Rosas Jr. gets this done by submission. Sign me up for it in leg 2 of the $1 million parlay. So I'm taking it here. I like the spot he's in coming off of a subpar decision performance. And this fight to me is more about Rosas than like some deficiency that Morales has in the grappling. I think he has good grappling, but it's more about a bounce back spot for Rosas Jr., who at No Shea USC, I really believe that he was not in good shape, or he was injured in that fight, and he was like, I can't not fight here. Look at this card that the UFC is putting on. It was a once in a lifetime type card. I think he was probably 6 out of 10 going into that fight and just banged up. And I think that he still won the fight by decision. And I think he's going to look like a totally different, more explosive grappler here in this fight, where I think he's going to get after it early and get like a round 1-2 sub in this spot. So if you guys missed it, leg one of the $1 million parlay is Jose Medina by submission at plus 1750. I played that based off of this dude gassing out that is fighting him. So again, it's a $1 million parlay. We need a lot to happen, taking a big swing for the fence on the first leg. But if that first leg hits, I like my chances with Raul Rosas Jr. to jump on the back here or get a rear naked choke on the ground or something. Armbar maybe I think is live. I think Morales has lost by armbar once or twice as well. I just think Rosas is going to get this one done. I think people are a little bit low on him right now, and I think this is a great bounce back spot.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting people are low on him when the whole thing was that Rosas couldn't strike and he just has a distance fight against Aori Qilong that he won. Like, he outlaned him at distance. I know it wasn't the prettiest fight, but I mean, Aori's kind of a tough guy to sub. Like, he's not the easiest guy in the world to sub. Yeah. My fear for Morales in this fight is that last fight we saw him against Elijah Smith, he seemed very confident going for – you had like a specific Morales sub in that fight, didn't you?
I had a fucking Darce, I think it was.
And he had one.
He attempted it and had it nicely.
Yeah, and like –
this bet's more about Rosas than it – like, I like Morales. I think he's got good submissions and grappling. But I just think this is Rosas' time to shine.
But I disagree. I think that's a bad thing here, that he's maybe overconfident in his skills in that area when I think Rosas is better. And I think Rosas' cardio is better. Like, Vince started to fade badly at the end of that fight. It's what allowed Smith to win that third round. And Rosas is a guy that he's tenacious. Of course, he's so young. He's got this great energy, and like, interesting that he's training with Canelo Alvarez. That'll help the striking a little bit. But I mean, it's kind of crazy. This guy's 10 years away from his analytical prime, or at least like an analytical UFC champion median is right around 30 years old. He's like 10 years away from that. And you can already see the signs of getting better and better. I wish the number was a little better. I've got sub at plus 380. You can find it around that plus 300 mark. I wish the number was a little better, but I agree with you that like I would pick Rosas sub. By the way, I've bet away from my model with Rosas a lot. It doesn't really like him for some reason, and I keep cashing. Like I had sub against Ricky Tercios. I played his I played round 3 decision against Aori Qilong. Like I don't know why it doesn't like Rosas in general, maybe because the striking stats haven't been great, but Morales is a guy 61% takedown defense. He's willing to go to the ground, and I think he eventually gets caught. I do because Rosas.
I do too. I was watching the Miles Johns fight. That was back in 2022. Miles Johns versus Vince, and there was a lot of like attempted takedowns and scrambles and grappling up against the cage that I'm like, Rosas is more explosive, I think, in those scenarios where I think he can do more with them. And I can see him backpacking him. I can see a rear naked choke on the ground or an armbar, arm triangle, something, bro. I think he's going to be able to snatch something on this fight. This is a big opportunity for him to really start climbing the rankings, I think, because he lost stock last fight. I think if he can get a dominant round 1 or 2 submission here, then he's going to be on to something. I don't know if you saw this, but he has 3 years to be champ, to beat John Jones' record for the youngest champ of all time. So Jones was 23 and some months old. Rosas is in his 20-something years old, so or 20 years old in some amount of months. But I think that bantamweight's tough though, dude. It's like, could this guy really beat like a Merab in 2 years? Like,
I was about to say Merab better get old fast.
Yeah. So it's like it is going to be hard, but I'm not counting him out. This kid could be a monster in 2 years, bro. He's 20 years old. Like, it's unbelievable. So I like him to get a sub here in this spot.
What's kind of interesting is that I now realize my model was very low on Chase Hooper, but Hooper was another guy that we saw him at like 18 years old, and he struggled a little bit at first. He had the setbacks early, but Hooper gets better and better and better every time we see him. I feel the same way about Rosas, and like Morales has enough paths to failure in these matchups that like I've always been skeptical of the Rosas chalk since what happened against C-Rod. but UFC's been very careful with his matchups. I feel like they were very careful with this one again here, even though it's short notice. But I feel like they were very careful to give him a fight that I feel like they thought he could win.
Yeah, they messed up on the C-Rod matchup, and I think they've been careful since.
Agreed. I totally agree with that sentiment. So, Matty, $1 million parlay. I'm not out on both legs. Medina would be wild, but that's why it's 18-1. So, I certainly can't argue it again. I just have a bad gut feeling. To me, I've called Medina the worst talented UFC fighter on the roster, and I still stand by that. But he might win based on exhaustion this week. So that's the type of card we might have in store. But why don't we move on to the third to the last fight on the card here?
Let's go.
Big Joe Pyfer taking on Kelvin Gastelum. Gastelum, of course, forced back to 185. He missed weight in Abu Dhabi late last year, and the UFC said, hey, if you're going to fight with us, you got to fight at 185. Joe Pyfer is not an easy assignment for any of these guys. So, Matty, what do you think about Pyfer? He's minus 330 in this matchup. He's been kind to us historically. Like, I know you were on the sub against Abdul Razak Al Hassan. I had inside the distance against Marc-Andre Barrio, and he ran right through him. Is this another spot where we could go with the body bags, Chalk?
I think so. I think Joe Pyfer's on a different level. We were on the Show Me the Money pod. We had John Anik's brother, Jason Anik, on the podcast. Gilbert wasn't there the other day, so it's me, Moicano, Jason Anik. But by the way, guys, that's out on YouTube. Show Me the Money podcast on YouTube. So if you guys want to go check that out. But here's what I'll say. Jason said that John said, is this a welterweight versus a light heavyweight? Like, is that what this is going to look like?
It could be.
Pyfer is a freaking monster, dude. 6'2", probably walks around at 220 at least. And Kelvin Gastelum is kind of a heavy, let's call it what it is. He's like a heavy welterweight. So I think when you look at this fight, Pyfer actually got interviewed today, and I'm really pissed about this because I put the cycle in yesterday. We talked about this a little bit, Austin and I, before the show. Pyfer said he wants to be the first guy to knock out Kelvin Gastelum, okay? And he's my last leg of the cycle, and he's my last leg of the $1 million parlay. Joe Pyfer.
Wow.
So, Austin, you want to hear something crazy right now? If my first two legs of the $1 million parlay hit and my first two legs of the cycle hit, Joe Pyfer by submission is a $1.3 million leg for me.
Oh, my goodness.
And Joe Pyfer comes out on an interview today and said he wants to be the first guy to knock out Kelvin Gastelum. So I am fuming right now that he said that. But here's what I will say, okay? We talk about what fighters say and how much stock we put into that. We loved it when Alexia said that to submit Molly McCann.
Yeah.
We loved it, right? But that was like the clearest path ever, right? We knew that was an easy path for her. This fight, I do feel like Pyfer can say that, but then he comes out and go watch the tape on Kelvin Gastelum, even watch the Chris Curtis fight. Chris Curtis is a great boxer. Gastelum was outboxing him for at least 60% of that fight. Gastelum has a good left hand. And Pyfer's kind of stiff in a way. Like, he's crazy power, but I think Gastelum might be able to outstrike him a little bit and use that left hand. And I think at a certain point in the fight, Pyfer's going to be like, fuck this guy, and just double leg him. Take it right to the ground. And my prediction for this fight is a Joe Pyfer arm triangle. I think he's going to be too big and strong on top, and he's going to arm triangle Kelvin Gastelum. And that's the last leg of the cycle and the long shot. Now, with that said, could he knock out Kelvin Gastelum in the first round? It is possible, even though the guy has a crazy chin. But I think his chin's even better here at middleweight. Like, I think the dude's, and we've seen Pyfer, like, unload the tank, against Jack Hermanson and then fade as the fight goes. Now, that was a 5-rounder. But Pyfer, man, you have such an easy opportunity. Just get this dude to the ground and lay on top of him. Sean Brady showed the path to you already. Don't let your ego get in the way. Don't say, I want to be the first guy to knock this guy out. Yeah, it's cool to say, but this is one guy he's one guy in front of you that is I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm saying if Pyfer's trying to be a future champ, this is one pawn on the chessboard that you have to get past right now and do the easiest path to get him out of there, which to me is a takedown and a submission on top. So I'm going Joe Pyfer, arm triangle here. I want to play that exact outcome, but I don't think the number's good enough. You'll probably hate me for that number. I have to look at it because I forget what it is now. But the submission, I believe you guys can get that at around plus 350. I don't know what it is right now in FanDuel Austin. But that's my last leg of the cycle and my last leg of the $1 million parlay. When we finish the card tonight, guys, we got one or two more fights here. We'll recap both tickets. You guys can all see them. But what do you make of this fight? I want to hear your opinion.
So what if I told you Pyfer sub was up to plus 400? Would that make you upset? It's plus 400. Yeah. I have to say I'm conflicted in that first and foremost, my main take on the safe position in this quote unquote safer position in this fight, plus 120 inside the distance for Pyfer is a gift to me. I've got it minus 107. I think it's great value, and like you said, it's a size discrepancy. And here is the thing: he's not getting KO.
This comment is crazy, bro. You guys got to go do your research. Go watch some tape. Yeah. Joe Pyfer is a monster in the grappling. This guy grappled GM3, no fighting, grappling after he KO'd him. He grappled him. I watched that entire grappling match. He beat GM3 by decision in a grappling match. Joe Pyfer is, I think, one of the most well-rounded middleweights. This guy is good everywhere.
He's got 3 grappling.
He's that wild. I think why is it wild when Kelvin Gastelum's never been knocked out and has been subbed a few times? I don't see how it's wild.
Yeah, and by the way, so my model likes Pyfer KO. It leads it, I guess, at price 33.7%. I've got sub at 17.1% though. So I don't even know if that's necessarily not value. I've got it. I've got it plus 485. So I'm in the neighborhood of where it stands right now, and that's not showing value against Pyfer's money line. And the thing that I come back to, your girl Corey, who, by the way, if you guys don't follow Corey on social media or TikTok, she's a budding star. She is our show crossed with Call Me Daddy or whatever that Barstool show is. She is a lot of fun. But I think that she was talking to me about this fight. I'm like, what do you think about Pyfer by sub? The last 2 guys that averaged at least 0.25 submission attempts per 15 minutes they ended up submitting Gastelum, and one Hermanson did it in the first round. I think Brady took until round 3 or so. Piper's bigger than either of those guys, and he averages 0.9 submission attempts per 15 minutes. So honestly, when I look at this fight, when I see it in my head, I see Pyfer sub is significantly more likely than Pyfer KO. And I think the difference between Tainara comes out and says she can submit Molly McCann. We knew that McCann's takedown defense was a problem. We know she has those issues. He can try to knock Kelvin Gastelum out. I think it's much easier said than done. And like you said at one point, maybe if we take that info of him saying, I'm going to try to knock him out, do we play 2-3 sub as side plays, small darts, things like that? Because he takes a round and realizes, I got to get this guy to the ground, and then maybe it happens in round 2 or 3. So
yeah, I think it's more likely that Pyfer gets tagged by a left hand, and then he's like, fuck this guy, I'm taking him down. But that's the way I see it playing out, because Gastelum's left hand is so sneaky fast, dude. It comes out of nowhere. It's a really nice left hand, So I'm just Pyfer can say that, but then when the fight starts, and also it's an altitude, right? It's don't play with your food, bro. Don't play with your food here. Gastelum is not the guy to play with. Take his ass to the ground, get in full mount. And then that's really the scariest part, is if he lays ground and pound there. But I think he can wrap up an arm triangle. I'm telling you, I see it so clearly that it's an arm triangle.
I love that. And it would make sense if it was in top position, Gastelum, poor takedown defense, 59%. Yeah. I just think that when you look at how Gastelum won his last fight against Daniel Rodriguez, that pass is not going to be for him. He took him to the ground. He was able to control him. He's not keeping Joe Pyfer on the ground. In fact, he might get armbarred from bottom and sooner than he controls Pyfer on the ground. So I love Pyfer ITD here. I think that's the main play. And then the sub, it's honestly calling to me too. So I'm totally with you. It's I teased when I tweeted our show, full agreement on the cycle. I love all 3 legs. You talked me into Borjas. Pyfer sub I'm on board with, because I knew I was going to main play inside the distance there. And then Julia, our girl Julia, shown analytical value on that too. So we're locked and ready to go. Whenever you trusted your reads, you trusted your gut. Whenever we seem to be in lockstep, good things happen with the cycle. So I'm excited for that.
The only thing I just hated was him coming out and saying that he's going for that knockout. Yeah, that's the only thing that's just really other than that, I mean, go look Sean Brady, round 3 Kimura against Kelvin. Jack Hermanson, round 1 heel hook. Chris Weidman, round 3 arm triangle. I mean, Pyfer could sub him a variety of different ways in this fight if he goes for it, and if he, if he wants it. So,
wouldn't it be so funny if we were worried about it, but in actuality it was a mind game, and he comes out in the first 10 seconds 100%. And shoots a double? We'll take it.
It's definitely possible, but
yeah, I definitely think so too. All righty, why don't we move on? We got 2 fights left, and then we will recap the cycle at the end of the show, as well as we'll build a safe parlay, quote unquote safe parlay, because no parlay is safe. That's the whole inside joke. Thought I'd get that out there in case, again, I have to dot my I's and cross my T's with FanDuel Legal. Make sure I'm playing inside the lines. But Manuel Torres taking on Drew Dober in this fight. It's a near pick 'em, and this is not the first time we've seen Dober in a co-main. He just had one against John Silva. Honestly, heck of a fight. We kind of saw how special John Silva was there in real time, and Manuel Torres trying to get back on the horse. Turns out Ignacio Bahamondes not too bad, so he loses by first round KO to him. Now we'll see if we can build some of that momentum of the guy who was finishing all those dudes like Nicholas Mota, like Chris Duncan. How about that win? How's that aged in the first round? So, Matty, it kind of feels like the fast starter, the tortoise versus the hare, but Dober also has first round equity. So this is a weird fight. We've gone back and forth on it together. What are your thoughts about this fight as we sit here on Thursday night?
I've spent so much time on this fight. It's driving me crazy, bro. I do think Drew Dober is kind of the sharp side here. I'm going to be honest.
Okay.
But with that said, what do we know about Drew Dober? He doesn't get put out cold, right? He's known for his chin, his left hand, right? But when this guy gets hurt, he doesn't get put out, right? He either gets wobbled or knocked to the ground. Even the Matt Frevola fight, that was a massive shot. He still had an argument to not even let that fight get stopped. Frevola was on top, reigning ground and pound.
Yeah.
Go watch every Manuel Torres finish because I've done it, okay? This guy is the most aggressive fighter in the entire UFC, right? He's kill or be killed. Now, hopefully that won't change because of the result of his last fight. I think it's in his blood. Like, I think this guy, this is who he is. And I found a crazy prop that I want to get your opinion on, because I love taking early sub props here against guys that don't go out cold and have great chins.
Yeah.
Sub opportunities. Manuel Torres round 1 submission is plus 900. Okay, on FanDuel, which is by far the best number. Everywhere else is like 550 and these random terrible numbers.
Wow.
We'll watch Manuel Torres's finishes and all of his wins and his submission wins. This guy, if he hurts you and it gets to the ground, he is like, he gets to your back so fast. Go look at that Chris Duncan fight. Go look at some of these other fights where he's won by submission. I believe we cashed on him on a sub prop. Was it the Duncan one, or there was another? It was. I think there was another one too.
There was only one so far.
Oh no, you're right. You're right. It was the Duncan fight. I think
he didn't have a sub before that. Yeah. But we'd seen his attempts. Yeah.
He has a guillotine back in 2021, a rear naked choke 2020. I mean, this guy, we talked about it. 7 wins knockout, 7 wins submission. So, like, the submission here against a guy that has been choked out multiple times, right? And a guy that can get tagged but not put out cold. I love those props in those scenarios, because if Torres hurts this guy, I'm telling you, he's going to jump right to the back and choke him out. So sure. I'm going Manuel Torres, round 1 submission at plus 900. I think I have to autoplay Dober round 2-3 KO, though. I really do. I actually like the under 1.5 at minus 190, or hopefully it's a lesser number here, actually. But I think if there's a world where it gets past, 5 to 7 minutes into this fight, Manuel Torres is cooked, bro. He's not going. Drew Dober's been in wars that have gone 3 rounds. Like, Manuel Torres is not going to be able to beat Drew Dober, I think, over 15 minutes. I think he either destroys this guy in the first round, or I think he gets put away in probably round 2. I don't even know that I would play round 3. I think I would play Dober round 1-2 KO, Torres round 1 sub, and get 2-way action on this fight and call it a day. And I would probably play the under 1.5 as a parlay piece. But I'm telling you, I have the weirdest feeling that Torres chokes him out in round 1, because he just comes forward and either in a grappling exchange or just a club and sub scenario. I really love that number at 9-1.
Yeah, Matty, I took it out here. I played Torres at minus 110. He's now plus 100 on FanDuel. So I predicted the line wrong, and it was inching his way earlier this week a little bit. And my primary play is going to be money line here. So I I am with you. Like I'm fine if it's a round 1 sub, but like round 1 itself is plus 400 for a guy that never makes it out of round 1. So that alone is kind of interesting on principle. And like, how do you think he's going to win if he doesn't? I think personally, anecdotally, in my model, by the way, I've got this minus 103 is Torres knockout. I think he's just going to terminate Dober in the first round. Dober's a guy that poor head defense has always kind of been his thing. He was in trouble against McKinney. He was in trouble against Frivola. And Torres has huge head power. He can crack. I understand your point about maybe it could be a sub. I think that's why I'm going to stick to the round rather than trying to
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Dober goes out cold. Like someone commented, Moicano couldn't sub Dober. I don't care. It's a different fight and scenario. Dober with Moicano on top of him, and Dober was just playing safe. Like this fight's gonna play out differently, and Torres is gonna hurt him first. That's the difference. Yeah. And Moicano actually grew as a fighter after that fight. If you remember, he even told me this. He was like, dude, I got so much better from that Drew Dober fight. After he fought Drew Dober, all he did was train his ground and pound and his chest on the ground. And then we saw it in the Benoit Saint Denis fight. So Moicano was just a different guy after that fight compared to when he actually fought him. But when a guy is only threatening submissions like Moicano is against Drew Dober, they're able to play it safe. A guy like Manuel Torres is coming to kill you in the first round, and then one moment he can be on your back. So to me, that's where the difference is.
Yeah, the difference is Moicano is very smart and he's very strategic and he understands position over submission. Torres doesn't give a crap.
And same concept with John Silva against Drew Dober. John Silva's a very efficient striker, likes to have fun for 15 minutes, counter strike, dap you up mid-fight. Torres only knows one thing, and that's coming forward.
Yeah.
That's all he knows, and it cost him badly against Ignacio. And one thing I want to talk about, Austin, is Ignacio's 5 times the counter striker Drew Dober is.
Absolutely.
Drew Dober is a good hammer and a bad nail, in my opinion. And he could be the nail in this fight in the first round. But if he gets past that, then he's going to kill this dude late in round 2. I think.
I mean, at this point, and the reason why I like the Torres buy low spot and bet the money line is I think maybe 5 or less lightweights in the world that are beating Ignacio Bahamondes right now with the sub danger, with the length, with the counter striking. Like I wanted to get a piece of Torres this week because I don't think the loss ages poorly at all. And I've always been the anti Drew Dober guy. I think he's seen as like the power guy, the knockout artist thing. And then
watch the Bobby Green fight. He was getting the shit kicked out of him for 7 minutes until he found the shot.
Right, and that's my fear is that he just gets terminated because Torres just aggressive from the beginning. But then again, if Manuel is hesitant, I think it could end up hurting him very early in this fight too. Like, why am I hesitant to play this under, like in the safe parlay? Like, why does it scare
minus 182 right now on FanDuel? Sign me up for that because
even
if he gets out of the first round, I think it's an early second round finish. And you can't put it past Dober to get a round 1 KO either. No, I think the hardest part is if there's grappling and Dober is able to play safe. Then I think the clock ticks and then I think it loses. But I don't think it's a bad number at minus 180 for 7.5 minutes against Torres. He's been out of the first round once. He's kill or be killed. I thought that number was like minus 250, which I know is crazy on a 1.5 line. But give me the under 1.5. Give me Manuel Torres round 1 submission plus 900. Give me Drew Dober round 2 KO as a hedge. I think it's plus 550. Let me see.
Yeah, how you feel on the total kind of correlates with who you think is going to win, and I think Torres is going to win, which bodes well for the under. I just
Drew Dober round 2 KO plus 700 is an auto bet.
Yeah,
you have to sprinkle on that.
If this fight goes the distance, we will see a different tempo from Manuel Torres than we've seen because there's no way a dude could fight for that like that for 15 minutes.
I don't know how the hell this fight could ever go the distance. I'm sorry.
If he's fighting like that, it would have to be these two are oddly patient, or like you said, there's some wrestling mixing. It would be something different than what we've seen so far. And personally, I think Torres can just walk through Dober. So maybe I will circle back to that under for the safe parlay.
Do you think that 9-1 sub makes sense though in the round 1? I know
9.
9-1. Okay. How many round 1 subs does this guy have? Why is it 9-1?
I think he just has the one against Duncan.
3, 4, 5 round 1 subs in his MMA career, bro, and I'm getting 9-1. Get the fuck out of here. I'm taking that every single time because against a guy with a granite shin that's going to get clubbed and subbed. 9-1 is insane of a number. I wish I had that number in Florida right now because I don't. Bro, I would do anything for that number.
Torres has never won outside round 1, and it's plus 400. That's a little scary. Like when you said Dober might be the sharp side here, that's very scary that FanDuel's just laying plus 400 on a fight. Like he's never won outside the first, ever.
Yeah.
Fair. Interesting. Under 1.5 Dober. Like, and our comments are split on this fight. I think it's fascinating. We went back and forth on it a lot.
Now, I will say if someone said Dober's going to wrestle a lot, I don't think he should wrestle, but if he wants to push this guy up against the cage and like waste time and, fatigue him a little, that would be, I think, a smart move. But like, as far as shooting a takedown, that's fucking crazy.
Torres has great takedown defense, 88% so far.
And that's going to make Dober get tired too if he does that. So these guys have such striking ego and mindset. No one's fucking grappling. The only time someone's grappling is if you hurt the other person and it goes to the ground. And that's my prediction what Torres does in round 1.
And like, I feel like MMA gambling, MMA gambling social media, they've been calling Torres a fraud forever. Like, I remember all of the Nicholas Motta was the underdog of the week against him. I remember the Chris Duncan plays. Like, this guy is super athletic. He's super aggressive. He's willing to put himself in that fire. I burned him against Bahamondes. But I think he's also the hammer here early, and like that's a good position to be against an older Dober. So yeah. we'll move on here. Why don't we talk about the main event? Getting smoother with those transitions. How about this one? Brandon Moreno trying to defend home turf, the son of Mexico, taking on Steve Astro Boy Erceg in this fight, coming off not a great appearance for he who looks like Steve Carell. Round 1 KO loss to Kai Kara France, kind of out of the title picture for the moment. This is a pivotal fight at 125, Matty. Moreno is minus 250. He is obviously got the home country advantage of the crowd behind him. Erceg, not a lot of UFC experience, kind of this enigma. He's around from the title, and now he's kind of on the way running out. Does he score an upset here against Moreno, or do you think Brandon ends up getting it done on home turf?
I'll tell you one thing. I could not bet against Brandon Moreno in this spot, bro. I love that he took a break from MMA. I loved how elite and dialed he looked in his last fight. This guy looked unbeatable. Maybe you could say it was the opposition.
Sure.
But can you really say that? Like, Amir Albazi is a good fighter, bro. 17-2. Like, he beat Kai Kara France. He beat Alessandro Costa, which is a great win, and he finished him. He beats these solid guys before he fought Brandon Moreno. Moreno made it look so easy. I just think Moreno's better everywhere. I think he's physically better everywhere in this fight. I'd be shocked if he loses. I saw him at the guys that got him at minus 180. Congrats. That's a phenomenal play, in my opinion. He's up to minus 250 now. A lot of people wanted me to put Moreno by decision in the cycle. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, wait a second. Can this guy TKO Steve Erceg? Whether it's a body kick or something or just pressure.
Yeah.
Because we've seen Erceg. I just don't like his loss against Kai Kara France,
Yeah.
I don't know. So I stayed away from it. I like the double chance. Actually, I don't like the double chance because the sub is always live too for Moreno. So I like Moreno as a parlay piece, but again, you're going to get bad value on him based off of the line movement. So I probably won't play much in this main event, truthfully. I almost wonder what's the finish prop on Moreno?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because it is favored to go the distance.
That's probably where the most value is going to be.
Plus 230, Moreno inside the distance.
It's something to look at. My initial read was Moreno decision, but if you talk about playing the right number on something here, you get a 5-round fight against Erceg, who was just put away, and then you get Moreno, who is good everywhere, can grapple, can knock you out. Probably not with his hands, right? It's probably like a kick of some sort that hurt Erceg and then puts him away.
Sure.
Again, my initial read was Moreno by decision. I think it was plus 140. So now it's plus 125, though. It's like all the if you haven't already bet Brandon Moreno by decision or on the money line, it's probably too late, truthfully. Like, the numbers are not good right now. Yeah. So maybe you look at inside the distance, as an option, but I just don't like a lot in this main event. I just think that Moreno will win very easily, in my opinion.
Yeah, I have Moreno minus 140 here, so the number is different. Like you said, definitely if you got in early, you got the best of the number, and it's a much easier sell. I mean, it's hard for me to quit Steve Erceg when I was like a round away from his 45-1 future. Like that would have been a cool moment for the show, but then he did choke in the last round against Pantoja. Ended up going for the takedown. It got him put on bottom, and he couldn't get back up. We really don't know a lot about Steve still at this point. Like Pantoja has very beatable aspects to his game, and Erceg's defensive grappling and his boxing were able to help him there. Everybody knocks out Matt Schnell, and then the Kai Kara France fight went as badly as possible. Like I know everyone was all over Erceg in that fight. Model liked Kai Kara. I ended up playing Kai in the knockout, so it was a double whammy there. So I'm at a decent sniffer for Erceg. I definitely think this is a winnable fight for him. Comparable size, good boxing on both sides. I'm not 100% convinced that Moreno is all the way back because he was able to keep Albazi at distance where he was on ring rust. He hadn't fought in forever, and Albazi ends up not being able to really get takedowns, and he wasn't able to put him away. It was just a weird fight. It was a weird fight to me. Whereas Erceg, I think, is a much more potent test in the striking realm. And I'm still worried about some of the Moreno things that we saw against Brandon Royval, who turned out to be a dog, right? He ends up beating Tatsuro Taira. No shame in that loss. And I feel like Erceg can stay competitive here. I think you look at Erceg point spread is interesting, but I actually have analytical value. The fights minus 215 to go the distance. I've got it minus 245, and I think both of these guys have a very hard time putting away each other. I will say if one guy was going to get a finish in regards to your lead, I think it would be Moreno. Probably, I would go with a KO just because we don't know a lot about Erceg's chin at this point. Last fight wasn't a great sign, so that's an anecdotal lead, but I like this over. I was gonna, I've had it bookmarked for the safe parlay, and I think you have to lean Erceg at the current number, but I just don't have a lot of conviction. So I really haven't played anything in this fight yet, and I don't know if I'm going to.
Yeah, I'm on the same page, bro. I can't. I hate this main event from a betting standpoint.
Right,
I really do.
Because it's Erceg or pass against Moreno in Mexico, and that just feels
really, analytically, Erceg lands more strikes per minute, has a higher striking accuracy.
Yes,
it's close, but then again, Moreno is obviously a much bigger sample size and better competition.
Yeah,
so it's tough, but
I don't like Fortis Moreno, and I'll throw it out there just because I have the trend. Moreno 0-2-1 in Mexico, so he hasn't won a fight yet. Extremely motivated, I'm sure, to buck that trend and actually get a win in his home country, but also a lot of pressure on him, right? He is the son of Mexico, the first champion from Mexico. A lot of pressure on him, so it kind of goes both ways.
If Erceg wins, how do you think he would do it?
Decision. Yeah, I do. I think Erceg's upside in this fight is winning 3 rounds to 2.
Yeah,
in a close fight.
I agree.
That's why maybe the point spread's a better bet than the money line.
What is the over?
It's minus 215 for the fight to go the whole distance.
Yeah, I just can't do it. I'm out on everything on this fight, dude. I think this might be the time I might not have a bet in the main event in my entire life, probably.
If you're up 20 units by the time we get to the main event, or if your $1 million parlay hits, I guarantee
that happens. I'm sprinkling on Moreno by submission.
Oh dang it! I was gonna say, can I convince you, Erceg? What is Erceg points here? I'm just curious because it's plus 290. That's not even a really exciting number, honestly.
Moreno submission plus 850. If I hit the $1 million parlay, cycle parlay, I'm putting 20,000 on Moreno by sub just for fun.
Yeah, I think this fight is at altitude is expensive to go the distance for a reason. And by all of these guys 5-round fights ever. I'm sorry, except 2 of them on the Moreno side, and then now Erceg his main event 5 rounds. So these guys have decision trends, and both of them seem to play for the long haul in these 5-rounders. So I do like fight goes the distance, Matty. But if you're opposed to it in the cycle, I wouldn't. Or not the cycle, the safe parlay.
Seriousness.
Okay. I think we can look better. So why don't we talk about some parlays and get crafted?
Yeah, for sure. me pull up the cycle real quick. Okay,
so here's where we were. Matty gave our legs out earlier. We have the first fight up on the card is Polastri decision. Kevin Borjas by KO, which is the longest leg, and then Joe Pyfer by sub, which is sitting around 4-1 on FanDuel right now. He threw it all together at his legal book in Florida, 3,300 to win $300K, Matty. That is not a bad payday whatsoever. It'll help make up for some of these March Madness underdogs that can't hold their weight.
Don't even talk about those. I stopped watching, dude. Both dogs already lost today. There's 2 more.
Yeah.
I can't stand college basketball, bro. Thank God for the UFC. That's all I'll say.
I was going to say, so on a scale of 2 weeks ago with Roman Dolidze to our awful full fade in China last year, where are we at with this parlay confidence-wise?
Yeah, I mean, I'm as confident as I can be for a 90-1, right? Like,
sure.
I'm not like telling people, like, yo, the cycle's definitely hitting. I know there's a difference between a 25-1 cycle and a 90-1. I just love all 3 of these legs. I just really, really do. So we'll see what happens. I mean, the first fight is already a tough one, a 2-1 underdog by decision. The second fight, I'm taking a guy to knock someone out who's never been knocked out before. And then in the third fight, I'm taking a guy to submit someone who wants to knock him out. So what could possibly go wrong? But guess what? I'm still confident. I am confident. I love the spot. I love the momentum we have. Just remember, guys, it's not do-all, be-all by the cycle. Like last week, we missed the cycle, even though we should have hit it because of Mick Parkin screwed us. But we still hit some crazy big wins. So, like, make sure you follow the full card. The cycle is just one bet on the entire card.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a lot of good 2-leggers and 3-leggers that I have on this card where it'll be like an under 2.5 parlayed with a prop. I'll tell you right now that Manuel Torres round 1 sub, I'm going to definitely put that in with something, and it's going to pay big.
What round would you have to consider for Melky to like slap those together? That'd be ridiculous. But
I would just take sub. I would just take sub parlayed with Manuel Torres round 1 sub. Or at that rate, maybe I would just take both guys subs.
Is that true? Is Arizona on top of Duke? That'd be great news.
Really?
We'll get a score update. But I want to just shout to you, by the way, if you straight bet each one of Matty's plus money legs here, you're 7 for your last 9 cycle legs. That's pretty impressive, regardless of whether or not the lays come home. So
they're all
if you straight
plus money. There's like
they're all like plus 200 or so.
Yeah,
or higher.
Oh, Arizona's up 13-10. It's too early for me to get excited.
Oh, jeez.
And I'm not watching the game. Every time a dog is up, I turn on the game where I start game casting it, and then the favorite will hit like 6 threes in a row, and I'm like, all right, I'm done with this shit.
Yeah, I feel that. And like, what was I gonna say to you? I was gonna say everybody in chat, by the way, hates your Borjas KO leg. So I think I gotta play that. When the chat, they hated Tidara sub last week, dude.
Some people like it. I think I saw a few comments of positivity on it. I understand why you hate it, and
I love Borjas KO, dude. I love that leg.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So I can throw it in a comment. Why don't we try to build a quote unquote safe parlay?
Should I show the million or should I show it after your safe parlay?
Let's show the million, and because I need to stall because I don't really know where I'm going. So you bet this ticket. What do we got? Pyfer sub.
Please, if you tell this shit, please sprinkle the smallest amount of funds on it. We are going leg number 1's this in the middle of the ticket. Jose Medina by submission plus 1750.
It's down to 16-1 on FanDuel. Yeah, sharp money, dude.
It's definitely so if that leg gets through, boys, all we have left are two guys that are better than their opponents at grappling. If that Jose Medina, I'm telling you, if that Medina leg hits, and then if the first 2 legs of both ticket hits, I don't know what I'm gonna do, bro, because I'm going to be counting on Joe Pyfer by sub for 1.3 million. And it's like, how do you even hedge? I don't hedge anyways, but like, how do you even hedge that?
Yeah, that is brutal as far sometimes you can get not props from some books, but like, hey, by the way, for your parlay on FanDuel right now, $10 wins 2,700. So even if you're not in for 3,500, that's a nice little pay to $10 for 2,700 if they like your reads.
Cycle has to be a lot better. I don't even want to know what it is.
Oh, I'm not. I don't think I want to do that to you and build that to sense. So
there's definitely over 100 to 1 for sure.
Yeah. So why don't we look at like my safe parlay, quote unquote safe again in quotations, because no parlay is safe, responsible gaming, hotlines and all of that as well. Just to put all the legal stuff out there. But I try to build low risk, manage your bankroll, build your bankroll parlays. We're 6-3 this year. I thought earlier we talked about Garcia Pelle. I feel like the fight's minus 270 to go the distance. I honestly feel like that's cheap. And I show value on that. I've got it 87.1% likely. So what do you think of Garcia Pelle goes full distance?
I'm in on that.
Okay. Favorites are kind of a tough sell on this card. Mm-hmm. I know you like Moreno. I'm trying to think of a favorite. If I was looking at like a money line here, I don't love the Rosas number, like minus 450 something. Morales deserves credit in that. What was Torres? Dober doesn't go the distance again. It's minus 800.
under 1.5 minus 182. Let's fucking do it.
Wow, interesting.
Up to you. Let's do it. In my opinion.
I try to make
remember your read is that Torres terminates him, so why not?
It is. Interesting. Fights like a pick'em to start round 2 even. That's kind of interesting.
Could just take round 1. I like that extra 2.5 minute cushion in that fight though, just in case. Yeah. Well, that is a lot of juice for that 2.5 minutes.
Yeah. Let's see, over 2.5, and then I'm going to go under 2. I'm going to just see what this comes out to. What we're looking at. Oh, how about this, dude? Garcia Pelle over 2.5 is minus 330. Torres Dober under 1.5 is minus 182. You get plus 101. You get a little bit of plus money on that.
Yeah.
Oh, you putting stuff in chat?
No, I'm just looking at FanDuel app. I'm trying to see what else I like for the safe. I mean, I'm good with that. Plus 101 and just call it a day.
Yeah, instead of I did that with just the rounds on. Should we goes distance on Garcia Pelle instead of over 2.5?
That's what I wrote down.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Let's do it because you already put it in there as well. So if we do that, it's plus 112. So Garcia Pelle goes the distance and Torres Dober under 1.5. I love that. I'll put it in here, bro.
All right, you got it. Thank you.
Yep. All right, so I
already the lead now that I looked at the game.
Model approved. We always love to see that. Fight goes the distance, and then we're going Torres Dober under 1.5. We'll see if he lives up to my Terminator moniker here. And you get plus 112 if you tie those together, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, plus 112 on FanDuel right now. We'll throw it up there. If someone could throw my comment up there. There's your quote-unquote always in safe parlay. Garcia Pelle fight goes the distance. Torres Dober under 1.5 plus 112. I've had more luck with totals. I feel like these contender series money lines, man, like Musasa a couple weeks ago, it's no bueno. I don't want anything to do with it. It feels like it's overinflated. I'm sticking to totals, and we'll see if we can keep the momentum rolling.
Yeah. You're going for what?
7 and 10.
7 out of 7. You're going for 7 out of your last 10 on this one.
Yeah.
That's pretty good, bro.
7 and 10. And we always get a plus sign in there, whether it's plus 216 like last week or plus 101. But Matty, do you have anything fun going on the rest of the week? I'll give you the floor because I think you do something fun every Friday.
Oh, yes. Tomorrow night, Hey Jive and I do the Longshots only show. That's at 8 p.m. Eastern. You guys got to come tune into that. Instead of commenting in the chat, we bring on anybody with a video camera on their phone or on their laptop. There's only 2 rules. You come on with a parlay that's 10 to 1 or higher, and you be confident. That's it. So you come on here, and you have 90 seconds. You give us your favorite bet of the UFC Mexico card. It's got to be 10 to 1 or higher. And we usually bring on about 40 or 50 guests throughout the night. So you guys come on and check that out. I'll tweet the link later tomorrow. It'll be on Instagram story. It'll be everywhere. So you guys come check that out. If you guys subscribe to the YouTube channel, you'll get notified as well.
It is so much fun. I would still remember the guy that told Hey Jive to his face that he faded him on or something.
And then he got cooked too.
And then he did get cooked. It's like, but you can do that. You can tell Matty exactly why he's wrong as long as you make a good argument. You're confident. You can do whatever you want. So I always enjoy tuning in. But
hey, we had, what was it last week? Every guest was on Kevin Holland to get submitted.
Yeah.
Every guest, and Hayden and I stood our ground. We're like, bro, Kevin Holland's not losing this fight. That was the buy low spot of the century on Kevin Holland, and he still almost made it. He still almost fumbled it away too.
Yeah, that was a wild fight, but we'll hope to keep the good vibes rolling here this weekend. Matty, appreciate your time. Appreciate you having a wonderful cycle parlay. We'll get locked in again. My stuff tomorrow, FanDuel.com/research/UFC. If you want to check out our site and some of the cool stuff going on there with March Madness and other sports, as well as Matty will have his full card dropping later this weekend. My full card and Discord drops tomorrow. It'll be good stuff. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will see you again. Is next week our respite, dude? I'm trying to figure out.
Don't tell me that, dude. That's depressing.
Yeah, I know we've got an no next week. Okay, we got an Apex card next week. Josh Emmett, Lerone Murphy, Loki.
Oh, I love that fight. By the way, I'm hammering that fight. I know exactly. We'll save it, but
I'll have to see how I model it. That's an intriguing one.
Easy money.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, we'll see what you got cooked up. Until next time, guys, take care. Hope all your bets cash. It was fun hanging with you.
Yes, sir.